And for further analysis, we're joined from Cairo by the African Affairs expert, Ramy Zohdy. Welcome, sir, to QNews. Sir, how significant is the AU's emphasis on water security and public health for continental development?
First of all, it's important to highlight that the water security and the health field in the continent is not easy in the two sectors from a year for the development in the continent. However, it is a vital role for the national security. The EU, in this framework, when he stresses that the water security and many states in Africa is suffering from the water security, even from the insufficiency or for the water quality or the water availability for the logistic and infrastructure readiness. So accordingly, AU is trying to help or deal with all the problems, because many of the conflicts in the continent is related to the sources and land and energy and water, and for the civilians' lives. Regarding the public health, many African states is suffering from the fragility of the infrastructure, especially that unfortunately is the first continent the diseases, the increasing of diseases and for the immunity problems. So accordingly, the civilians cannot enjoy the health or the water security, and they need many development process. So accordingly, they are trying to link between the water and health to guarantee the developments.
Sir, in what ways does the 39th AU Summit advance Agenda 2063's vision for Africa?
In many different ways, because the EU is not only a protocol meeting as it was in last decades, but it became an important meeting from the states and for the member states of the private sector and for the international members participating in this side, and for linking and connecting in trade and exchanging of the free trade as general, and for the supporting and financial the advanced support and resources, and for the infrastructure projects and empowering youth and link between the national security, and to make it one currency. And it's now a choice and an important article to achieve what we need.
Sir, to which extent has Egypt been effective in supporting the AU Peace and Security Council's mandate?
For the security part, it's the head of the council. However, Egypt is a very important country for peace and security in African continent, regardless being a member or a head of it, what Egypt do all the time for the mutual work in the continent to prevent the conflict from the first beginning, and how to deal with the conflicting that we are witnessing, and for the reconstruction actually, and for making sustainable resources, and to deal or tackle with many solutions and many developments for the African continents, and to prevent any foreign interventions, and for deal with the mechanism and early warnings, so that the African continent can feel what's going on before it happens, and for the Peace Council, so that we can deal with the mechanism and the crises that present and that are existed.
Sir, what impact do Egypt's early warning and mediation efforts have on conflict prevention in Africa?
Egypt worked a lot in this framework. And Egypt made many vital events in the early warning, maybe in cases that are very clear and major part in the continent. I speak about Sudan or the threaten of Somalia. I talk about Libya and the African Horn. And for the conflict in the major countries in African continent. So Egypt is participating and working with many African states and for the de-escalating in order not to be the weaponized factions. Egypt is taking place in the financial and supporting the states in many militias, in confronting any militias.
How important is Egypt's role in contributing to Africa health security through the African Medicines Agency, sir?
As I mentioned before, if the infrastructure in the continent and for the medicine and security side is fragile, the solutions should be core issues so that the exchange of experience and to establish many organizations that are specialized in this field is very important to link the agencies of medicine agencies and exchange the technologies and experiences and to empower and not to increase the export. So I talk about this. This will support the autonomy of the continent in confronting the political sides or the foreign interventions because they have their own resources and their own food rather than needing all the exports.
What role can African nations play in supporting a two-state solution for Palestine, sir?
Maybe the African states are aware of the Palestinian issue because of the war from a long decades ago. So the African states, the majority of them are well aware that the two-state solutions or preserve the Palestinian human rights and their need for the justice and law, international law, to apply it. So many countries, many African states need and support the ceasefire or the military operations for the civilians and to confront the displacement because what happened in Palestine can be done in many other countries. And for the political path, they truly appreciate and support it in the region because they refuse any displacement, any death, any war, any crisis in the region.
From Cairo, that was Ramy Zohdy, the African Affairs expert. Thank you very much for joining us on QNews. That brings us to the end of our special coverage for tonight.